Hello, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to yet another video on weweb. So for this video, I'm going to show you something very cool, some very nice things. And however, we're going to be looking at how to do edit pages with REST API, and most importantly, I'll show you how you can do some on page load validations and all that stuff. So let me show you an example of what you're going to be doing. If you click on Create Vendor, it's going to take you to a page called Vendors. So if you notice, this is the Vendors page. This is the Add New Vendor page. But we're not going to be looking at how to add a record right now. If you go back and you click on this name, it's going to take you back to the Vendors page. But now for this situation, it's the Edit Vendor page. So you can see. So we have the same page for the add page being the same page for the edit page. So I'm going to show you how you can do that first, and then do that together all at once. So let's go ahead and do that. Great. So if you look at this, you notice that I have the edit page and the add page all together in the same page. So what we need to do is we first need, every time we click on a button, we need to have a variable listening for what's the situation, like current situation. So I have a variable called page action, right? So I have a variable called page action, so it's under my folder here called deploy variables. Where is it? Page action, yeah. So I have a variable called page action, which is a string of type text. So it's either add or edit. So every time I click a button, I should be able to tell it is this an add or an edit. So let's go back to the vendors page, list page. Great. So now on this particular page, we want to hold on. Great. So on this particular page, I want, when I click on this name here, I want it to open the vendors page, but on edit, not both of them, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to attach action here. I'm going to add a workflow, and I'm going to call this on click, right? So you need to change that to on click, and I'm going to say change variable value. So I have a variable called page action, and I'm going to call it, edit, right? Good. So same thing is going to happen when I click on create vendor here. I want to perform that workflow and call it change vendor, and change variable, call it add, and I'm also going to change the page to go to the vendors page. So the same thing I'm going to do here, but I want this to go to the vendors page. So I'm going to say change page, and I want it to go to vendors, right? Let's go to vendors like that. All right, so now let's try and view that. So click on create. It should open the vendors page, but remember we have not done any conditionals, right? So I've not done any conditionals on this. So if I go back to the list page and I click on the add, it should also go to the vendors page, but we are still going to be seeing both of them, right? So now what we need to do is we need to put some conditional visibility on it, right? So how you do that is you come to this particular page, and here I have two columns. The first one is the one that's responsible for the new vendor. The other one is for edit vendor, right? So here, what you're going to do is you're going to do a conditional visibility at the bottom here, but there's something you do which could be on display. So if you do a conditional visibility at the bottom here, and you're going to say if page action. So you're looking for the variable called page action. Page action, right here. If page action is equals to add, then you're going to say true or false, right? So this is going to either be true or false, right? So now we're going to copy this, and you're going to go to the second column, which is for edit, and we are going to do the same thing on conditional visibility, and you're going to say just paste it here. If this is equals to edit, is it true or false? Then make it true or false if page action is equals to edit. So what this means is that if the page is equals to edit, it's going to display the edit vendor. If it's equals to add, it's going to display the add vendor. So if you come back here, you notice we are on the edit, right? So if you go back and come back as add on create vendor, we should have it being a new vendor. Right, now that's done. But we need to do now the data that's supposed to be doing our edit page, right? So I want, when I click on this edit here, it should go and display the edit, but now we need some data from the REST API to display here, right? So for that, click on your data here, and I have an endpoint called view records, which is a single record endpoint, which should accept some parameters, which is the table name, primary key value, email, and the API key. Good. So now, one thing here that you notice is I'm passing these values as parameters here. So I have a variable called table name view. I also have another variable called where is this? Hold on. You have a table called table name view there. I have another one called primary key view. So these are variables I've created. This is another one called page edit variable. This is when you want to edit the page, the ID of that particular record you want to edit, and email API key. So these are okay, right? So now we want to capture this endpoint and call it when the page is on edit, right? So to solve that, I have a workflow called check if record ID is empty. So what this is doing, it is capturing, it is checking if the variable called page edit variable is greater than 0, and then it's going to return a boolean, right? Now, if the boolean is true, it's now going to call our collection here. If it's false, then nothing happens. So if it's true, it's going to call this API call in our collection and display that data on our list page, on our edit page. Great. So what we need to do now is on the vendor's page, we need to execute this workflow when page loads, right? So you need to execute this workflow when the page loads, right? So you click on this, trigger page workflows, and you're going to click on this edit if record is add or edit. So let me just delete it and just add it again. So right, when page loads, I want this to happen like this. I want this to trigger, execute workflow, and this is check if record ID is empty. Good. Right, so now when we come back here to the edit page, right, so we're just going to close this and close that. So on this edit page, what we need to do now is we need to execute that particular endpoint. But now let's go ahead and kind of add some few things here. So we want to go back to the list page because there's one more thing we need to do here. So remember, my endpoint is accepting some parameters. So I want, when I click on this, hold on. If you remember, my endpoint is accepting some variables here, which is table name view. Another one is primary key view, and a primary key edit page edit variable. Right, so let's go ahead and do this first, so that you follow along. So I want, when I click on this here, I want to change some variables, right? So before we change the page, so you're going to just remove this for now. We need to do change variable value, and we first need to change that page edit variable, right? This one. Now the page edit variable is going to be the ID of the record. What do I mean by the ID of the record? This particular record here, there's the ID that comes with it from the backend. So that particular ID of this record is what we want to pass here. So page edit variable, we want to pass that variable here, and it's going to be this vendor ID from item data. Vendor ID. Good. So now the next thing we need to do in our endpoint is also accepting another parameter called page name view, primary key view, and page edit. So those are already catered for, right? So we're going to close this and you're going to come here and say change variable value. Let me duplicate this action. So I'm going to come here and say table name view. So the table name view, so don't worry about this, these are just my tables that are required by my endpoint. So it's going to be called vendors. My primary key view is going to be vendor ID, something like that. Good. And then at the bottom here, we're going to say change page, which is going to be the vendors. Great. So when you click on this and the page opens, you should be able to know whether that particular table is on edit or add. So let's click on this and click here. Good. So we're on the edit page, you notice. However, we don't know whether our data was but actually called. So what you can do, let's see if we have some records here. Let's go to our view recorded point, and you can see the data was retrieved successfully. Good. So this is of vendor ID number 7, right? So now what you need to do is attach that particular response here, right? So you're going to go here and you're going to say initial value. So you want to say to particularly attach this to the initial value of this particular page, right? So we're going to come here, click on init value, and the init value is going to be coming from our get vendors, view records. Where is it? View record endpoint, which is this, and the data here, and the first thing is going to be the first name of this particular person. It's going to be that. So normally what I do personally, I don't have to keep redoing everything here. I'll just delete everything and click on data. Now what I'm going to be doing here is just doing dot first name, so that I don't have to keep going down every time clicking on this. So what I'm going to do here is just delete this, right, and copy and do. Good. So the next time we go here is going to be address 1. So I'm going to say init value, paste it, dot address 1, something like that. Good. So I'm just going to pause this and do it. All right. So there we go. So we have that working just fine. So now we will go back and try to come to another particular return and go to another guy like Wahome here. Click on Wahome. So it should open and trigger that particular guy first name. So as you can see. So we learned 2 things today. It's how to work with variables, conditional visibilities, and how to do pull particular item and put it in text fields. So that will be it for this video, guys. See you in the next one.